down 49% and 50% in 2022. Which stock is a better buy for 2023, Intel or Nvidia? I'm going to answer that question in this video, so stay tuned. So to compare these two, let's start with comparing them on quarterly revenue growth going back to 2018. And what we can see is that Nvidia has more fluctuating revenue growth, but a higher upside in revenue growth going back over these years. And that makes sense. It's in more high growth industries, and that's likely to be the case for the next 5, 10, 15 years. You can expect much faster revenue growth from Nvidia going forward. So Nvidia has the advantage there, even though in the most recent quarter they both posted negative 16% and they both posted negative revenue in the most recent quarter as the semiconductor industry, as consumer spending on electronics has retreated significantly. The next thing I want to look at comparing the two is quarterly revenue on an absolute basis, not just in growth terms. And we see here Intel is a larger scale business than Nvidia, reporting revenues of 15 billion in the most recent quarter, where Nvidia was just 5.9 billion. So Nvidia also has a lot of room to catch up to Nvidia here in terms of overall revenue. And then let's compare the two in terms of net income. And Intel has consistently delivered higher overall net income compared to Nvidia. And that makes sense because they're a larger business, right? 15 billion compared to 5 billion, 5.9 billion in revenue for Nvidia. But in the most recent quarter, 1 billion in net income for Nvidia and 680 I'm sorry, 1 billion in net income for Intel and 680 million for Nvidia. So that gap has closed considerably. You saw Intel's net profits crash way more than Nvidia's did, as Intel was more exposed to the pullback in consumer electronic spending. And then cash flow from operations, similar trend, similar to what we saw in terms of net income. Nvidia was far better than, I'm sorry, Intel was far better than Nvidia in terms of cash flow from operations, but that gap has closed in the most recent quarter. However, going forward over the next 5 years, I expect that gap to open up again, just because of the scale of Intel's business. It's a much larger business, so they should deliver higher cash flow from operations and higher net profit going forward. Finally, let's compare the two based on valuation, looking at the price to earnings ratio and the price to free cash flow ratio. Looking at the price to earnings first, Intel trading at a price to earnings of just 8 compared to a price to earnings of 61.8 for Nvidia. So Nvidia is way more expensive than Intel. Let's see, almost 8 times more expensive than Intel stock. And then looking at price to free cash flow, again, Nvidia trading at 75.9 compared to 15.5 for Intel, almost 5 times more expensive compared to price to free cash flow. So both in terms of price to earnings and price to free cash flow, Nvidia is way more expensive. And admittedly, Nvidia's prospects for the next 5 to 10 years is much better than Intel's prospects in that same time. They have more exposure to fast growing industries like cloud computing, artificial intelligence, driverless technology, fast growing industries. Nvidia is more exposed to it, so they're one of the leading providers of technology to those industries, so they can command higher profit. They can command premium prices for their GPUs sold into those units. So going forward, they should do better. But that said, I don't think that they deserve this kind of premium valuation compared to Intel. Yes, their stock should be more expensive to Intel because they've got better prospects, but not 8 times and 5 times better in price to earnings and price to free cash flow. I think that's too much. I think if you're looking to invest in one of these two stocks for 2023, you are better served buying Intel stock for 2023. Okay, so that's all I've got for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.